The Wolfman was a 1941 American horror film, not really all that scary, more just creepy more than anything, starring Lon Chaney Jr., Claude Rains, with a very brief appearance by Bela Lugosi. So this is the next in my series reviewing the Universal monster movies, and this one was a lot of fun. I think Lon Chaney Jr. really does a good job in the title character. He's kind of this big, beefy guy with a deep voice, and he just kind of lends himself well to the Wolfman. And from what I've read, it sounds like he is in a series of sequels as well, where he meets Frankenstein and so on. So I'm looking forward to reviewing the others in this series. So as far as the plot goes, Lon Chaney Jr.'s character, there's a death in the family. He returns to visit with his father in Wales, and while he's there, he becomes interested in a local girl who works at this antique shop. So you have to admit, watching the sequences with her, played by Evelyn Ankers, it was okay, but he does seem kind of pushy in kind of a creepy sort of way. You know, he's very persistent about getting a date, and she repeatedly says, no, 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 but whatever. So he, as I guess a romantic gesture, he buys a walking staff that has like a silver wolf's head, and that becomes kind of important later in the story, this particular walking stick. So later in the film, he and this girl and one of her friends, they go out, and the friend has met with a gypsy, and I think this is where Bela Lugosi shows up. He is actually a werewolf, and he attacks this Evelyn Ankers' friend, and this is where Lon Chaney jumps to the rescue. He beats up the werewolf with his new walking stick, but as he's doing this, he gets bitten in the process. So this gypsy fortune teller basically says, hey, this was my son in the form of a wolf. I think he thinks it's kind of crazy, but she gives him the dire warning that he's going to transform into a werewolf as well because he was bitten. So, and then sure enough, later in the film, he's not feeling good and he starts turning into a wolf. And it doesn't have any sort of grisly body horror. There's nothing with like the slow transitions. I think later in the film it happens once where he reverts back and it just kind of does a slow fade from wolf face to human face again. But there really isn't a lot of the kind of the gory transformation taking place. A lot of it is just behind the scenes. 1 minute it's Lon Chaney Jr., the next he's the werewolf, crawling around through the woods attacking people. So he, after one of his transformations, he's running around the village. He kills a local grave digger, and things start to fall apart for him, and people are suspecting there's a werewolf. They got to track it down. I won't go much more into details. You got to watch the exciting conclusion yourself. I did think that this film was very neat in how the sequences were out in the forest. You would have like the haze of fog and dark shadows. It was very, very neatly done how they added the creepiness, that and the use of wipes as you would go from one scene to another. I thought that was very well done in this film. And as far as Lon Chaney Jr., I watch him and it's like, this is what I associate with him, is this one role, and he just does it expertly. The makeup for early 1940s looks great. It doesn't have to be over the top gory. I mean, you can tell a good story with just some convincing makeup and just a little bit of creepy storytelling, and that's really what this one's all about. So that's The Wolfman from 1941.